All right. Welcome back to the BG Perform podcast with my co-host, Gerald Hayes.
What's up? What's up?
We're back. Another episode this week. This week, we're going to be talking about daily discipline or just discipline in general and how important it is to finding success in fitness. Because I think one of the things I realized as I was away this weekend in Scotland, my second trip in 2 weeks, I was exhausted. I took a total of 125,000 steps in 2 weekends, just those days. Ran each
That's
morning, took the steps, going to see everything. I forgot it was a total of like 30 miles over the weekend. So I basically walked a marathon over the weekend.
nomad.
Nomad. Yep. And being able to do that was this one thing kept popping up in my mind, which is discipline and a quote like you see the world differently when you're fit, or fitness helps you see the world differently. And it was something that just kept popping up in my head the entire weekend as I was able to kind of see these things. So that's what I want to talk about today. And we'll dive into that. We're going to again, AMTAP podcast. I haven't explained this last couple times we've started, but the AMTAP podcast, as much talking as possible inside of 30 minutes.
Which
Usually
we
we
always
go
seem to overpass.
we're gonna get this is gonna be it's like training. We're gonna get better and better, and one day we're gonna have perfect inside 30 minutes, or we're just gonna change the rules because
Yeah.
you can't beat the rules, you change them. That's
Yeah,
all.
exactly. Yeah.
That's it. So we're gonna start
You
this
ain't
time.
cheating, you ain't trying, right? So
Exactly. Start this time. We're gonna talk about discipline, and we're gonna get going on all this stuff in three, two, one, boom.
we're gonna talk about this is go nuts.
Ace Ventura. Ooh.
Guano. 10 seconds in, we're already fucking up.
That's one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. He starts going off. But discipline, discipline. That's why we're here, right? So, one of the things that was consistently popping up in my head over the weekend as I went to Scotland, as I've traveled this past couple of years, is just finding ways to just continue staying fit. It's definitely not been the easiest, and I think one of the things I've realized is with the travel, there's so much I love about it, but there's so much I miss about just being somewhere, having my gym, having my routine, having everything just set in stone where it's like I wake up, I know what I'm going to do, I know what time I'm going to go to the gym, and it's hard, and it's one of those things where even in having the settings that I did have, right, there's still struggles that go along with that. There's still things that get in the way. There's still people who are trying to take your time or places that are trying to get in the way of you finding success, and it's everywhere. And I think one of the most important things that we can find in our lives today is like literally is discipline and just having the ability to, even at the worst times, get ready and just do what you have to do. And I think that in today's world, straying away from any like bigger topics or conversations outside of fitness, staying in our lane, discipline is the one thing that people lack tremendously. And what I mean by discipline is just being able to do things when things aren't perfect, right? When things aren't easy, when things get tough. And I think that, if you guys saw my Instagram post on, I believe it was Saturday morning after I finished my run or Sunday morning, one of the two, it's just one of those things where it's like it's so empowering to know that like no matter where I go, I'm gonna make it work with the fitness. And that's just the one thing that's always, maybe I get a little bit too like thought focused on it or like obsessed in the thought of like I need to work out. But it's just something that I know makes me feel so good and it makes me feel so clear-headed and able to just enjoy everything from there on out because literally once I work out, everything else is just like extra credit. You know what I mean? It's just all extra credit, all extra movement. It makes me feel good about, enjoying a couple extra things food wise. Like I ate like pretty, I'm gonna say pretty good in Scotland. I ate pretty good. I had a
treated
Scotch
yourself.
egg. I had a real Scotch egg in Scotland in the home of Scotland. Yeah.
There you go. That was pretty
I
good.
had,
There you
yeah.
go.
I had Applewood smoked mashed potatoes with gravy. I had a Nutella stuffed cookie. I
Oh
had
God.
I had arancini. I had What else did I have? Oh, I had Iranian food, however you pronounce it. I had what else? What else? I don't even know what else. It was all good. It was all good. And I think like one of the things that helps me is knowing that I'm training so hard and enjoying this stuff. And that's why I go to train. That like, it's part of the reason is so I can eat good food, right? But also to just enjoy these trips more because I know with certain levels of fitness, as I mentioned in the intro, the one quote that keeps popping up in my head every time I do these is like fitness helps you see the world different. And it's something I read on Instagram. I forgot from who. I want to say it was Jake Dearden, but like it's a quote that literally rings true in so many ways because I saw so many people who just weren't in shape and you know aren't fit and aren't able to take those extra stairs up to see the better view, aren't able to go the couple extra miles to get a little bit outside the city to kind of see some of these views, who aren't able to walk 30,000 steps in a day and enjoy all the things and see the quantity of things I got to see in a day because I'm able to do the things that I'm able to do. And it was one of those things that's just like, how does one get to that point? How do you get to a point where you're able to enjoy those things, right? How do you get to a point where you're able to wake up and decide you want to go on a trip by yourself? And this is a very specific niche subject, but what I want you guys to take away from this today is like, how can you have the confidence to go and tackle some things in your life and with ease and get the most out of it? And it's discipline. It's literally waking up each day, no matter what, and getting something done or moving 1 inch closer to whatever it is that you're trying to do. I know that's a very like David Goggins-esque quote, right? Like it's a very David Goggins-y, but I don't mean it in that way. What I mean is like literally in its most bare bones form, how and can we at the end of the day create enough discipline so that we can move forward so that when it does get hard, we're still going, and when it's easy, we can fully enjoy things, right? Both of us, Jerry and I, have had a ton of change, more change than I can count. I was literally just telling Jerry before this, I have to move again. Like I'm moving another place. This is going to be my third place in the last 3 months that I'm moving to. And it's just, it's just how it works. It's just part of, what we do and making it work and finding new places as like, because we never really know in our side of things, like my side of things, never really know how long we're going to actually be in a place. So usually it's like month by month or week by week, and we're just kind of putting things together, making it work. So I got to move again. And it's one of those things where it's just like, I was the first month I was at a place and I found a rhythm, had to move, new schedule. Now I'm moving again. I'm in a rhythm. Boom, new schedule. And it's just no matter what, I know at the end of the day is like the one thing I'm least worried about is the fitness, is the training, is the nutrition, is the daily learning and reading and journaling. It's like that stuff is just so ingrained in me after years and years and years of true discipline and just getting things done, even on the days that I'm like, fuck, I do not want to do this, like whatsoever. That's when it becomes easy. That's when it's like, oh, the times are good, the rhythm is good, the schedule is good, the flow is good, and now it's just like I can fully take advantage of it, right? And I think that a lot of people use these tools when things are good. They use the working out, they use the journaling, they use the learning, and they use it to its fullest extent when it's good, right? And that's not what this stuff's for. And this is where the word discipline comes in. Like that's not what this stuff is for. This stuff is for when shit goes bad, right? Like what are you turning to when shit goes bad? What's the first thing that pops into your head? What's the first conversation you have in yourself when shit goes bad, right? And I've been able to really experience this firsthand with the triathlon training because there are some fucking days that I am like, what am I doing? Like I literally like, and it's funny, I had this conversation with myself I want to say last week when I was running, and I was negotiating with myself as if I wasn't going to do the whole workout. I was like, all right, well, maybe if I just get to this point, I can like slow it down a little bit and then pick it back up. And then I get to that point, I'm like, yeah, maybe I can just push it like, or I can just slow down right now. Maybe I can just slow down right now, and then like I'll pick it back up and I'll finish the rest of it hard. And I was just like, I was like, what am I doing? I'm having a conversation with myself as if I was gonna stop at any point, or as if I was gonna adjust like what I was doing. I was literally like negotiating with
As if you
myself.
don't know who you are.
Yeah. And I had a little bit of a moment when I was on the way home after I had that negotiation. I just kept saying, no one's gonna fucking stop me. And I was running down the street, just fucking like full blast sprint on the way home. And
Just
it was awesome.
growling and yelling at yourself.
Yeah, literally
Like,
foaming at the mouth, foaming at the mouth.
like Wolverine at the end of Logan when
Yeah.
he's running through the forest, just
Literally, literally, that was me. But it was that type of conversation where when I see myself having these conversations with myself, being someone who enjoys this, being someone who does this for a living, it's like I can't not go through, right? Like, and this and that, and that's those points are where the discipline kicks in. And I say that because like with all the change we've had, Jerry just moved to a new state. I'm, like I said, moving for the third time inside of being in England in 3 months. Then we got to go back to Brazil and it's a whole new schedule. Then I'm gonna go back to America. It's a whole new schedule. Then after that, I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. That's a whole new schedule. And that's for me, there's things that I have to do on a daily basis, right? And I want Jerry to kind of talk about his experience with this too, but there's things that I have to do on a daily basis that I don't need to do. I don't necessarily want to do, but I have to. Because if I don't, it's letting these little, I don't want to call them demons, but these little excuses find ways to slip in and get inside, right? I don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. I never have. Well, besides when I had my gym, right? I never really had to wake up at 6 a.m. I chose to wake up. I choose to wake up that early because that's what gets my day going right. That's what gets me up, getting my stuff done, getting to the gym, getting it done, getting out, and now being able to work on the things that I'm able to work on in today's world, right? And I think that with that, it's just become more and more obvious to me that when you choose, when you let these little cracks in your foundation of negotiating with yourself, of letting yourself not be able to push through these moments when things go bad, this is when you need it the most. Like this is when the stuff you read, when the stuff you write, when all these tools, like, and this is what's helped me the most, right? And like I've just realized I've talked for 10 minutes, but with everything that goes on with this, it's like I've never felt better in my life right now, mentally and where I'm at, because I finally use the tools that I have. And I think a lot of people have these tools that they have available to them. Everybody has them available to them, and they as soon as it goes bad, they just forget everything, right? And I think like reading some of the stuff that I read and diving into some of the topics I've read over the last couple years, right? The last few years, it's every single time I have something that goes bad, it's just helped me understand it more and not go crazy from it, right? Because I've had a lot of situations where I could have been like, oh, that's it, throwing in the fucking towel and I'm calling it a day. And for me, it's led to so many great things. And I think, to sum it up, like the discipline is the main key in all of this for continuing on this grind. But I want you to talk about this as well, because yours might not be as severe as mine, but yours being so recent and so new, because I've gotten used to this, being honest. Like I chose this life. I chose to do this for the time being. And, not to say that you didn't choose what you're doing, but
Mhm.
yours is more realistic and more local to the people. And not, people aren't doing what I'm doing, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you having somewhat of a more relatable life right now. How does this affect you?
When I think about like discipline and routine and schedule, why are you drinking like that, first of all? Just
Because
really quick.
I want to make noise. I was trying to like,
So when I talk, the camera goes to me. So nobody just saw what Brandon was just, if this was the water bottle, it
see,
was in
that's
the
what I told
corner.
you. I was trying to make least amount of noise, but if you see my water bottle, listen.
It was great. He did a good job, but it was so far to the right that it was
I was trying to.
anyway.
I won't let it go.
Just fucking Popeye sipping,
Sorry,
bro.
sorry.
But getting away from that. Um, oh gosh, I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh, looking at discipline and looking at uh routine. For me, if I don't have routine, I don't have a structure. I start to like everything falls into place.
That's
And it
true.
starts
If
with
you're someone I
it's
know that doesn't have routine, you're one of the few people I think of.
yeah, if I don't have routine, I might as well just not be a person. I might as well be an animal living in the woods. So when I when I have routine, it always starts with two things, like Brandon working out and also waking up consistently around the same time. So for us, I'm waking up. Obviously, he's in England, so I wake up at a time where we could do podcasts, we could study, talk about work, and get work done. So
Yep.
that's how I start my day every day, and then I head into the gym that I work at right now. Get to work out. I come home. I get some personal stuff done. I eat. I read. I go to bed. So that structure is so important to me because as soon as I deviate from that structure, I start to feel like I'm losing control of my day probably due to some OCD, which is another story. But the main thing is when I am working out consistently and I'm waking up at the same time, I'm able to function. And this past weekend, unfortunately, had to fly back home for a funeral. So when I was there, the I had to leave here at 3 a.m. So I woke up at 2:30 to leave at 3 a.m. And then I didn't get to the funeral home until 7 7:30 p.m. or like 7:15 p.m. East Coast time. So
Uh-huh.
it was like a really long day of travel, get to the funeral home for the wake, and then I got 4 hours of sleep that night. So I got
Not to
2 hours,
mention,
4 hours.
you're
What's
on
up?
top of that. You're just at a funeral, which doesn't make anything better.
No, it doesn't make anything better. So that's obviously that sucked. But 2 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep. And then I had to do the same thing on the way back. Wake up at like 2:30 in the morning. So again, 2 hours, 2.5 actually, 2.5 hours of sleep that night. And I'm just trying to survive. At this point, like Brandon knows me. Everybody who knows me, I can't sit still. My legs are always jittering. If you ever watch me, I'm always rocking in the chair here when Brandon's talking. I can't stop moving. Those days, I was just still. I was like a fucking statue. Someone would talk to me. I'm like, yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Colorado's great. California's great. I love all of it. Yeah. You'd be like, you ever gonna move back home? And I'm like, oh, probably not. No.
Those are
Just
the
fucking wander off.
those are the worst parts about going. Well, I don't know. It depends. It depends on who you're talking to. Those are the worst
One
parts about going back home.
one day when I make it in my career, I will have a house back home so that I could visit every once in a while. But that was one of the things where I was just so dead and I couldn't find time to work out. And if I did, I probably would have gotten hurt. So what I would do is just like stretch here and there. And obviously that's not working out. And I wasn't waking up consistently at the same time. Getting back here, the first thing I made sure I did was get enough sleep so I can continue that schedule that I want to be on. Yesterday, like Brandon, I had that same discussion with myself where it's maybe I'll push through the first exercise and see where it goes. Maybe I'll stop after this, or maybe I'll cut down the sets and reps. And I found myself doing that. And in that moment, I was like, no, you do it anyway. Because if you can do it when it's the hardest, every other day is going to be easy. And that's one of those things that I try to stick by is always, always complete your workouts, be as consistent as possible. This way, even when it's the hardest thing you could do, every other day after that seems easy. So with schedule and discipline, it's important that no matter what, you try and stick to it as best as you can. Obviously, yesterday was really tough. I had to drop weights a little bit because a leg day after not resting at all is always really hard,
Yeah.
especially tempo back squats. You never want to do that after little rest. And I
Nope.
did, and I did it. And although I wasn't able to execute those workouts or those exercises at the same intensity that I usually do, I still got it done, and that's better than nothing. So, I guess that what I would want to add to that is no matter what you do, just keep your goals in mind. Try to keep your schedule as consistent as possible. Obviously, life throws these little things at you here and there that throw you off track, but always find your way back and just keep your head forward, keep moving
And
forward.
I find with most of this stuff, like discipline it doesn't have to be these big things. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to
Hmm.
be because a lot of people have asked me about this in the past. And a lot of people talk to me about this, whether it be like conversation I've had with Jerry, my sister the other day, people in the past who have talked to me. I don't claim to have the answers, but like I've gone through a lot of shit, good shit. Like I mean good shit. I don't mean bad shit, but like, I've gone through a lot of shit in the last 5 years. Been a lot of change from, you know, being a fat kid to losing a bunch of weight to graduating college to opening the gym to now traveling the world as like a trainer. Like those are like, you know, that's a story in and of itself, obviously, for another day.
Yeah.
But going from the fat kid to the trainer, right? Like there's change that has to happen there. And this is 11 years, right? You don't get there without discipline. I like it wasn't my discipline at the beginning was not what it is now. My discipline now was I got home at 1 a.m. on Sunday night. I woke up at 6, swam a mile, ran 5 miles, trained Ian, did all my work that I needed to catch up on, and that was it. Like that's my discipline now, right? But just like anything else, I was exhausted. I was tired. I didn't want to do shit, but I did it because I that's what I love, and that's I know what I was gonna feel like after. At this case, didn't feel great after. Just put it that way. That
Yeah.
was
Recovery was probably
I
sub-maximal
was
there.
I was for the first time bloated while running. I've never felt that before. It's like it
It
was,
was like every step was a fart, just like "Wah, wah,
oh,
wah, wah."
when I got home. Let's like anyways. Anyway, so discipline starts as like these little things, these little goals. Like I'm going to wake up when the alarm clocks goes off, right? I'm going to do this work when I say I'm going to do this work. I'm going to go to the place that I need to go because I need to go there, right? Or discipline even starts with the thought, right? Like the thought that comes into your head and being able to either promote that thought or get rid of it, right? And I think that one of the things that I really love from Jordan Peterson, Jerry hates his voice, but one of the things
That is,
I love,
I'm sure he has good things to say. I
I
just
saw
can't listen to
fucking
it.
saw a fucking hilarious meme on him. It wasn't him, but it was someone like doing his voice, talking about the Lord of the Rings. So funny.
Oh my God. You're
So
not going to wipe your ass to do the thing you want. I'm
he's like,
sure he
look,
says
I
good
poked
things.
the dragon. He's like, why would I do that? It's so funny.
Why?
But anyways, he talks about, he kind of talks about when you're dealing with these things, like when you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with these bigger issues. It's like the goal isn't to wake up tomorrow and feel better. And I think this is where people go wrong with it. They want tomorrow to be they're just good. I would love that. You know what I mean? I would love to have all my problems figured out tomorrow, right? But that's not what life is, and that's not what we do, and that's not how you get the most out of it and learn, right? I think that, and one of the things he talks about is slowly introducing things into your life. Like if you can't get out of bed, sit up in bed. Then the next day, sit up and just stand out of bed. And then the next day, stand up and walk to your bedroom door and walk back. And then the day after that, take 10 steps down the hallway and turn around and come back. Like each day, it just gets easier and easier and easier and easier. And as you build these things up, you're going to continue to find success. You're going to continue to be able to, and like one of the things that I think is super important on top of that is understanding that these daily successes are obviously going to build up on each other. They're going to compound. They're going to get easier. And what the day before was difficult and crazy for you to think about completing now is a basic thing that you're going to complete because we've done it. We're doing it. We're definitely getting better at it. We're able to comprehend these ideas and thoughts more. And when we really kind of dive into this stuff with fitness, it's literally the same thing. And I think I it's so hard sometimes because I feel like every topic we talk about just kind of comes back to the same stuff, but it's like people think fitness has to be this crazy thing, right? And like, yeah, what I'm doing is a little bit on the crazy side, training for a triathlon, right? Like that's one of the more insane things that you can train for, outside of a full triathlon, or, there's some crazy things out there that people do. But in regards to like training, it doesn't need to be crazy, right? And I think that people really just need to understand that like this stuff, discipline doesn't have to look like waking up at 3 a.m. to run. It doesn't have to look like, the stuff that David Goggins posts. It doesn't have to look like this eating, rice and chicken and that's it. Like that's undercooked or whatever, underheated, whatever you want to call it. It just looks disgusting. Just looks stale and pale and you're just like, don't want to eat it, right? Now, when you get to a certain level, there comes more discipline to get to that level, right? And in competition, in things like that, there's people who, in most cases, are willing to die for what they're doing, right? And there's some people who are just so disciplined that if you want to compete at the highest level, that's what you need to do, and it's just not, there's no way around it. There is no way around, like, for example, when Ian fights, like he's in a field where he has to physically harm somebody. And like you cannot at any point think, oh well, maybe they'll go light. Maybe they'll go light. Maybe I don't have to worry about this so much. Maybe I can just take it easy this day. It's like, no, like you're going into a ring to physically harm someone with a high chance of, you know, something going wrong in the fight, right? That level of competition, or what's the word I'm looking for? This level of, oh, what's the word? Expression, level of expression of competition demands that type of discipline, right? But for the average person, discipline is knowing you have your kids at home and understanding you have to work out in the morning and making that change, right? Discipline is knowing you have to work because you want a better life for yourself. Knowing it sucks. Maybe the place that you're at now sucks. Maybe the situation you're in right now sucks. But discipline is constantly waking up and understanding I'm choosing the hard thing today. So 10 years down the line, it's easier, right? Then I think what most people get confused about here is like discipline in the meantime is sacrifice. And I think a lot of the times, like this is one of the biggest things that people confuse it with, is that sacrifice is so crucial for everything we're talking about, right? And for you to be truly successful in what you want to do, you have to kind of create as much sacrifice in the now so that you can kind of almost like look at it like a interest account on savings. It's like the more you can put away, the more you're going to be, or better off you're going to be down the line, right? The more money you can save, the more money you can invest, the more money you can put into a thing that starts to get this thing going, that's the more money you're going to have down the line. With fitness, it's the same thing. The more time you can put into the gym, the more time you can put into these habits, the more time you can get into being able to wake up when the alarm clock goes off and get the things done that you need to get done and talk to the people that you need to talk to and introduce yourself, and all of this, like, literally is just, that's discipline each and every day, saying this is where I want to go, this is how I'm going to get there, and what are the steps in between. And that can get very boring, really. Like discipline is very fucking boring. Sacrifice is very boring. You might not see your friends for a couple months. You might not enjoy food like I was when I was losing weight. You might have to bring your own salmon and rice to the fucking family gathering or the friendly gathering, and you might have to say no to the cake or say no to, certain events. But like, if you ask me again now, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even say no, to be where I'm at and be where the things that I'm getting to do and experience and see. And, kind of comes back to the thing now where it's like, if you asked me 10 years ago, would I be able to be in the position I'm in? I would no, because I wasn't anywhere ready for that. I wasn't physically prepared. I wasn't mentally prepared. I wasn't emotionally prepared for any of it. And it just wasn't who I was, and I wasn't physically capable of enjoying things. I wasn't mentally capable of enjoying the things that I am now because the discipline built on itself so much that I was able to now go and take 120,000 steps, walk 60 miles in 2 weekends to see two new countries that I've never seen before and experience it and meet new people and have good food and mentally do it for the entire day and take it all in because of my level of fitness. And I truly believe it's because of my level of fitness, right? So to kind of, because I honestly I don't know that there's much more to say about it unless you have anything else that you want to add on top of it, Jerry. But discipline really just comes down to kind of deciding to yourself that you're going to be successful in what it is that you want to do, defining success for yourself, and then really sitting there and being like, all right, well, what are the things that I need to be doing to make sure that this success is met? And to me, it's simple. Do what you're going to say when you say it, consistently do it, and don't let the fucking shit get in the way. That's all. And it really comes up to really just do what you're gonna do. What you're gonna. What did I just say? Sorry, fucking.
Do what you're gonna.
Yeah, years ago. They tried to
Yeah,
put me in. No,
this live.
this is like do what you're gonna do when you say you're gonna do it, right? Don't let this shit get out of control. If you say you're gonna do something, do it. If not, then don't say you're gonna do it, or that's it. You know what I mean? Like just leave it alone. And I think too many of the people in the world today either talk too much and they don't do enough, or they're not confident enough in themselves to actually complete the actions that they talk about, so yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say on it. I mean, I think it's just like to me, it's gotten to a point where it's so simple for me that it's just literally like when you say you're gonna do something, do it. And at the end of the day, if you're not gonna, find someone to help you or show you what real discipline looks like. Because even at the end of the day, I'm sure I can improve my discipline. And I think I have very high levels of discipline at this point. But I think that there's people out there who, like I said, are willing to die. And when I say die, I mean literally die for what they want to do, And they're not going to let a rainstorm, they're not going to let, a bad night's sleep or not having enough money to do something get in the way of them achieving what they want to achieve. And I think I'm going to let you talk in a second, but I think one of the things that also showed me this was all the travel. And I think it's really hard. It's really hard to kind of understand like how bad some of these places are. Not bad in bad ways, but like how poorly the people are treated and like left in some of these countries. Like Brazil is just like you see these people who are happy with nothing. And I've met people who have been from one of my clients that I work with in Brazil, Marco Tulio. He just made it to the UFC. These guys don't have anything. They have nothing. You know what I mean? Like they wear the same shoes. They're sharing gloves. They're sharing wraps. Like, you think about when you use wraps and how sweaty they are at the end. These guys are using it and then giving it to the next person. They're using it and giving it to the next person. And it's like they're sharing it. They're going through this process all to reach this dream that is such a low percentage of people in their area that it's just like it's crazy. And you don't understand it until you see it in front of you. You know what I mean? And when you feel it and you see it and you're like, fuck, bro, like I got everything. I got this fucking computer. I got family. I got friends. I got books. I got camera. I'm like, what am I not like? Why? How am I not doing this? You know what I mean? And it's just like that's where the discipline really starts to kick in, and you're like, I got everything. So it's like if I'm not doing it, I'm making a choice each day to not do it, right? So yeah. Anything to add to that?
Just to go based on what we talked about last podcast too, was environment. So if all else fails when it comes to discipline and routine, try to surround yourself with like-minded people. Like for
Yeah.
me, I know that when I'm trying to get stuff done, I got Brandon. Brandon's got me. We push each other. We're fucking different time zones by like a million miles, dude. He's
It's
in London.
eight
I'm
hour
in,
difference.
yeah, 8 hour difference, man. That's a full work day. But we
Yeah.
still manage to keep in contact, push each other, keep each other accountable. And that's the biggest thing. Because if you struggle and you don't have the support, it's gonna be really, really hard. Like I know for me, some days it's really hard to do the things I want to do. I'll text Brandon and be like, "What's up, bro?" He's like, just getting shit done." And I'm like, "All right, my turn." And like that's all I need at this point. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm just like, "Man, I'm really struggling to push forward," and I see that he's doing what he needs to do, I'm gonna do what I need to do. And that comes down to if it's waking up in the morning, try to find someone else that you could talk to at that time. If it's getting to the gym, get a lifting buddy or somebody that you share your PRs with in a community, or if it's nutrition, make a food log, and that could be your accountability buddy. So all these little things, just try to surround yourself with like-minded people who have similar goals, similar ambitions, and similar drive.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's what I was saying. Like it just seems like, and that's why I think what we created in the guiding principles is just so important. Like that's and actually this is a good point. I'm glad you brought it up. Discipline is that, right? If you struggle with this and you're like, well, I don't even know where to start with this thing and like discipline of what, you know what I mean? Go to the guiding principles, right? Like, are you moving each day? Right? No. There you go. Yes. There's your discipline. Keep it going, right? If not, start moving. If you are, keep it. What's your nutrition, right? Are you eating like an asshole or are you not eating if you're eating like an asshole, discipline, don't, right? And figure out the steps you need to do that. it goes all the way down from movement, nutrition, environment, rest, recovery, uh doing you, right? Giving yourself an opportunity to actually enjoy things and do you, like it's discipline. Like all this stuff just literally like is built upon discipline. And if you do it enough and you do it in the right way and you do it consistently, there is no there really is nothing that can get in the way of it being successful for you, right? And the only thing is if you choose to not do it. And that's the one thing I can't stress enough to people is like, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. Like it's totally fine. No one, I'm not someone who judges someone who doesn't want to do something, but you have to be okay with the outcome on the other end of that. If you're choosing not to stay disciplined, then don't complain to me about not losing weight or not seeing results or not making money or not, insert problem here, right? I think so many people complain and none of them do anything to do it, to help it. And it's like, if you're going to complain about it, then what are you doing to change it? Realistic, like just an honest conversation. What are you doing to change it? If you're not doing anything to change it, then leave me alone, right? Because I'm here to help. I want to help people. I want them to be better if they want to be better. But like, I've had so many clients in the past that were like people who, and then that's why I don't work with them anymore, right? It's either one way or another. I've always found that people, who I don't work with anymore or who stopped working with me in one way or another weren't ready for real change. I think they're some of the people who, and that, people listening could say like that's a knock on me, whatever. I've had clients for over 7 years. I've literally had clients that I've worked with for over 7 years. So it's like there's something that works, there's good there. And for me, it leads to, it starts with discipline and then it leads and builds upon itself each and every single week for success, right? And I forgot where I was going with that. But anyways, I think to me, this is a good place to kind of like cut it because I think, at the end of the day, if you go through the BG Perform guiding principles and you follow those and start even just starting there with the discipline and building discipline within those 6 to 8 things, your life's going to be better, right? And I think at the end of the day, obviously, I think one of the hardest things right now in the world is what Jerry talked about, like having people, right? Like I tell Jerry all the time, we're grateful to have each other. You know what I mean? And like talk as much as we do because there's people who just don't have that.
Mhm.
And if you don't have that, find us, talk to us, or find other people. That's all. And like I said last week, this thing can be useful. It very well can be useful if you use it the right way and you surround yourself with the people who are going to help you become a better person. But again, discipline. You have to go and find it, right? Like it can't be this back and forth of I want to be disciplined, but then you're following people who are doing fucking, eating KFC for 4 hours on TikTok. It's like, all right, well, like, is that helping you? Right? Is it just making you crave KFC or is it actually helping you? Because, in that case, it's like get rid of the people that aren't helping you. I told Jerry this last week. I went through my Instagram and I cleared out things that I was like, this doesn't help me anymore. This isn't giving me anything. This isn't making me inspired. This isn't informing me. This isn't helping me on my fitness journey. It's like, so why is it on my feed? Right. And I got rid of stuff. And I think that most people, if you went through and actually did this and consciously looked at what you're consuming on a daily basis, you'd see why you're not disciplined. You see why it's so easy to wake up and say, I'm going to sleep another 30 minutes, or I'm going to wake up. I don't have to work out this morning. Maybe I'll do it later. And it's just like those types of things, those little conversations you let happen in your head every single day. That's what causes all the issues. You know what I mean? It's just as simple as that. It's what causes all the issues. When I wake up as soon as the alarm sounds, I'm out of bed and I just go do something. I don't care if it's just walk down the hall. I just get out of bed because I know if I stay there, it's like, oh, all right, I'll just close my eye. I almost did this morning. Oh my God, I almost did this morning. I slept like 8 hours last night and I woke up this morning and I got my phone and I went back into bed and I sat there for a second. I was like, fuck. And I got up and I just fucking went into the bathroom. I put water on my face and I got up and I was like, I was this close to like losing it. And like those,
Mhm.
like that's the type of thing. It's annoying. It sucks. I could have slept another hour and a half today, realistically, but that's part of the process and that's part of discipline, right? So yeah, I think I think it's a great place to end it. And I think this was a really good episode just talking about discipline and where to start with it. And yeah, I think that's it.
It's
Anything
good.
else new?
No, we covered pretty much everything.
Cool. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. We did a little bit better, 38 minutes.
38 is better than 45.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. We're getting there. I told you, we're getting better. I will see you guys next time. Peace.